Did you hear what I was playing, Lane?
Oh, I didn't think it polite to listen, sir.
I'm sorry for that, for your sake. I don't play accurately. Anyone can play accurately. But I play with a wonderful expression. As far as piano is concerned, sentiment is my forte. Keep the science for life.
Oh, yes, sir.
And speaking of the science of life, have you got those cucumber sandwiches cut for Lady Bracknell?
Oh, yes, sir.
Oh. And by the way, Lane, I see from your book here that on Thursday night, when Lord Shoreman and Mr. Worthing were dining with me, 8 bottles of champagne are entered as having been consumed.
Yes, sir, 8 bottles and a pint.
Why is it that at a bachelor's establishment, the servants invariably drink the champagne? I ask merely for information.
I attribute it to the superior quality of the wine, sir. I've often observed that in married households, the champagne is rarely of a first-rate brand.
Good heavens, is marriage so demoralizing as that?
Oh, I believe it to be a very pleasant state, sir. I have not had much experience with it myself up to the present. I have only been married once, and that was a consequence of a misunderstanding between myself and a young person.
I don't know that I'm much interested in your family life, Lane.
No, sir, it is not a very interesting subject. I never think of it myself.
Very natural, I am sure. That will do, Lane. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Lane's views on marriage seem somewhat lax, really. If the lower orders can't set us a good example, then what on earth is the use for them? They seem as a class to have absolutely no sense of moral responsibility.
Mr. Earnest Worthing.
How are you, my dear Ernest? What brings you up to town?
Oh, pleasure, pleasure. What else would bring one anywhere? Eating as usual, I see, Archie.
I believe it is customary in good society to take some slight refreshment at 5 o'clock. Where have you been since Thursday?
In the country.
What on earth do you do there?
When one is in town, one amuses oneself. When one is in the country, one amuses other people. Successfully boring.
And who are the people that you amuse?
Oh, neighbours.
Got nice neighbours in your part of Shropshire?
Perfectly horrid. Never speak to one of them.
How immensely you must amuse them.
Hello. Why all these caps? Why cucumber sandwiches? Who's coming to tea?
Oh, merely Aunt Augusta and Gwendolen.
How perfectly delightful.
Yes, that is all very well, but I'm afraid Aunt Augusta won't quite approve of you being here.
May I ask why?
My dear fellow, the way you flirt with Gwendolen is perfectly disgraceful. It's almost as bad as the way Gwendolen flirts with you.
I am in love with Gwendolen. I've come up to town expressly to propose to her.
I thought you had come up for pleasure. I call that business.
How utterly unromantic you are.
I really don't see anything romantic in proposing. It's definitely romantic to be in love, but there's nothing romantic about a definite proposal. Why, one may be accepted. Ugh. Please don't touch the cucumber sandwiches. Those are ordered specially for Aunt Augusta.
And you have been eating them all the time.
This is quite a different matter. She is my aunt. Have some bread and butter. The bread and butter is for Gwendolen. Gwendolen is devoted to bread and butter.
And very good bread butter it is too.
My dear fellow, you need not eat as if you were to eat it all. You behave as if you were married to her already. You are not married to her already, and I don't believe you will ever be.
Why on earth do you say that?
Well, in the first place, girls never marry the men they flirt with. Girls don't think it right.
Oh, that is nonsense.
It isn't. It is a great truth. And in the second place, I don't give my consent.
Your consent?
My dear fellow, Gwendolen is my first cousin, and before I allow you to marry her, you will have to clear up the whole question of Cecily.
Cecily? Oh, what on earth do you mean? What do you mean, Algy, by Cecily? I don't know anyone of the name of Cecily.
Bring me the cigarette case Mr. Worthing left in the smoking room last time he dined here.
Oh, yes, sir.
Do you mean to say you've had it here all this time? Would you goodness you would have let me know? I've been writing frantic letters to Scotland Yard about it. I was very nearly offering a large reward.
Well, I wish you would have offered one. I happen to be more than usually hard up.
There's no use offering a large reward now that the thing is found.
I think that is rather mean of you, Ernest, I must say. However, now that I look at the inscription on the inside, I find that the thing isn't yours after all.
Of course it's mine. You've seen me with it 100 times. And you have no right whatsoever to read what is written inside. It is a very ungentlemanly thing to read a private cigarette case.
Oh, it is absurd to have a hard and fast rule about what one should read and what one shouldn't. Whew. More than half of modern culture depends on what one shouldn't read.
I simply want my cigarette case back.
Yes, but this isn't your cigarette case. This cigarette case was a present from someone of the name of Cecily. You said you didn't know anyone of that name.
Well, if you want to know, Cecily happens to be my aunt.
Your aunt?
Yes, charming old lady she is too, lives in Tunbridge Wells. Just give it back to me, Algy!
Yes, but why does she call herself Little Cecily, if she is your aunt and lives at Tunbridge Wells? From Little Cecily with her fondest love.
My dear fellow, what on earth is there in that? Some aunts are tall, some aunts are not tall. That is a matter that surely an aunt may be allowed to decide for herself. For heaven's sake, give me back my cigarette case!
Yes, but why does she call you her uncle? From Little Cecily with her fondest love to her dear Uncle Jack. There is no objection, I admit, to an aunt being a small aunt, but why not, no matter what her size may be, shall call her own nephew her uncle? I can't quite make out. Besides, your name isn't Jack at all, it is Ernest.
It isn't Ernest, it's Jack.
You have always told me it was Ernest. I've introduced you to everyone as Ernest. You answer to the name of Ernest. You look as if your name were Ernest. You are the most earnest-looking person I ever saw in my life. It is perfectly absurd you're saying that your name isn't Ernest. It's on your cards. Here's one of them. Mr. Ernest Worthing, before the Albany. I'll keep this as proof of your name as Ernest if you ever attempt to deny it to me, or to Gwendolyn, or to anyone else.
Well, my name is Ernest in town, and Jack in the country, and the cigarette case was given to me in the country.
Yes, but that does not account for the fact that your small aunt Cecily, who lives at Tunbridge Wells, calls you her dear uncle. Come, old boy, you had much better have the thing out at once.
My dear fellow, you talk exactly as if you were a dentist. It is very vulgar to talk like a dentist when one isn't a dentist. Produces a false impression.
Well, that is exactly what dentists always do. Now, go on. Tell me the whole thing. May I mention that I've always suspected you of being a confirmed and secret Bunburyist? And I'm quite sure of it now.
Bunburyist? What on earth do you mean by Bunburyist?
I'll reveal to you the meaning of that incomparable expression as soon as you are kind enough to inform me of why you are Ernest in town and Jack in the country.
Well, produce my cigarette case first.
Here it is. Now produce your explanation.
Oh, Mr. Thomas Cardew, who adopted me when I was a little boy, made me in his will guardian to his granddaughter, Miss Cecily Cardew. Cecily, who addresses me as her uncle for motives of respect you could not possibly appreciate, lives in my place in the country under the admirable charge of her admirable governess, Miss Prism.
Where is that place in the country, by the way?
There's nothing to you, dear boy. You're not going to be invited.
Oh, now go on. Why are you Ernest in town and Jack in the country?
My dear fellow, I don't know if you'll be able to understand my real motives. You are hardly serious enough. When one is placed in the position of guardian, one must adopt a very high moral tone on all subjects. It's one's duty to do so. In order to get up to town, now I've always pretended to have a younger brother by the name of Earnest, who lives in the Albany and gets into the most dreadful scrapes. That, my dear Algy, is the whole truth, pure and simple.
Oh, the truth is rarely pure and never simple. What you really are is a Bunburyist. You are one of the most advanced Bunburyists I know.
What on earth do you mean?
You have invented a very useful younger brother called Ernest, in order that you may be able to come up to town as often as you like. I have invented an invaluable permanent invalid called Bunbury, in order that I may be able to go down to the country whenever I choose. Bunbury is perfectly invaluable. If it wasn't for Bunbury's extraordinary bad health, for instance, I wouldn't be able to dine with you tonight at Willis's, for I've been really engaged to Aunt Augusta for more than a week.
I haven't asked you to dine with me anywhere tonight.
I know. You're absurdly careless about sending out invitations. Nothing annoys someone so much as not receiving an invitation.
You had much better dine with your Aunt Augusta.
I haven't the smallest intention of doing anything of the kind. To begin with, I dine there on Monday, and once a week is quite enough to dine with one's own relations. Besides, now that I know you to be a confirmed Bunburyist, I naturally want to talk to you about Bunburying. I want to tell you the rules.
I'm not a Bunburyist at all. If Gwendolyn accepts me, I'm going to kill my brother. Indeed, I think I'll kill him in any case. Cecily's a little too much interested in him. It's rather a bore. So I'm going to get rid of Ernest, and I strongly advise you do the same with Mr. With your invalid friend with the absurd name.
Nothing will induce me to part with Bunbury. And if you ever get married, which seems to me extremely problematic, you'll be very glad to know Bunbury. A man who marries without knowing Bunbury has a very tedious time of it.
That is nonsense! If I marry a charming girl like Gwendolyn, and indeed she's the only girl I ever saw in my life I would marry, I certainly won't want to know Bunbury.
Then your wife will. You don't seem to realize that in married life, 3 is company and 2 is none.
For heaven's sake, don't try to be cynical.
That must be Aunt Augusta. Now, if I get her out of the way for 10 minutes so that you may have an opportunity for proposing to Gwendolyn, then may I dine with you tonight at Willis's?
I suppose so.
Yes, but you must be serious about it. I hate people who aren't serious about meals. It's so shallow of them.
Lady Bracknell and Miss Fairfax.
Good afternoon, dear Algernon. I hope you are behaving very well.
I'm feeling very well, Aunt Augusta.
That is not quite the same thing. In fact, the two things rarely go together.
Dear me, you're smart.
I'm always smart. Aren't I, Mr. Worthing?
You're quite perfect, Miss Fairfax.
Oh, I hope I am not that. It would leave no room for developments, and I intend to develop in many directions.
I'm sorry if we're a little late, Algernon. I was obliged to call upon dear Lady Harmony. I hadn't been there since our poor husband's death. I'd never seen a woman so altered. She looks quite 20 years younger. But now I'll have a cup of tea and one of those nice cucumber sandwiches you promised me.
Certainly, Aunt Augusta.
Gwendolyn, won't you sit here?
Thanks, Mama. I'm quite comfortable where I am.
Good heavens! Lane! Why are there no cucumber sandwiches? I ordered them specially.
There were no cucumbers in the market this morning, sir. I went down there twice.
No cucumbers.
No, sir, not even for ready money.
That will do, Lane. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm greatly distressed, Aunt Augusta, about there being no cucumbers. Not even for ready money.
It really makes no matter, Algernon. I had some crumpets with Lady Harmony. Ah, thank you. I've quite a treat for you tonight, Algernon.
I'm afraid, Aunt Augusta, I shall have to give up the pleasure of dining with you tonight after all.
I hope not. It would put my table completely out.
It is a great bore, and I need hardly say a terrible disappointment to me. But the fact is that I have just received a telegram to say that my poor friend Bunbury is very ill again. They seem to think I should be with him.
It is very curious. This Mr. Bunbury seems to suffer from strangely bad health.
Poor Bunbury is a dreadful invalid.
Well, I must say, I think it is high time that this Mr. Bunbury made up his mind whether he was going to live or to die. This shilly-shallying, but the question is absurd. Health is the primary duty of life. I would be much obliged if you will ask Mr. Bunbury from me to be kind enough not to have a relapse on Saturday, for I rely on you to arrange my music for me. It is my last reception, and one wants something that will encourage conversation, particularly at the end of the season when everyone has practically said whatever they've had to say, which in most cases was probably not much.
I'll speak to Bunbury, Aunt Augusta, if he is still conscious, and I think I can promise you that he'll be all right by Saturday. I'll run over the program I've drawn out if you'll kindly come into the next room.
Thank you, Algernon. I'm sure the program will be delightful. Gwendolyn, you will accompany me.
Certainly, Mama.
Charming day it has been, Miss Fairfax.
Pray don't talk to me about the weather, Mr. Worthing. Whenever someone talks to me about the weather, I always feel quite certain that they mean something else. And that makes me so nervous.
I do mean something else.
I thought so. In fact, I am never wrong.
And I would like to be allowed to take advantage of Lady Bracknell's temporary absence.
Oh, I would certainly advise you to do so. Mamma has a way of coming back suddenly into a room I've often had to speak to her about.
Miss Fairfax, ever since I met you, I've admired you more than any girl I met since I met you.
Yes, I am quite aware of the fact. And I often wish that in public, at any rate, you had been more demonstrative. For me, you've always had an irresistible fascination. Even before I met you, I was far from indifferent to you. We live, as I hope you know, Mr. Worthing, in an age of ideals. And my ideal has always been to love someone by the name of Earnest. There's something in that name that inspires absolute confidence. The moment Algernon first mentioned to me that he had a friend called Earnest, I knew I was destined to love you.
You really love me, Gwendolyn?
Passionately.
Darling, you don't know how happy you've made me.
My own Earnest.
But you don't really mean to say you couldn't love me if my name wasn't Ernest.
But your name is Earnest.
Yes, I know it is, but suppose it was something else. Do you really mean to say you couldn't love me then?
That is clearly a metaphysical speculation, darling.
Personally, darling, to speak quite candidly, I don't much care about the name of Earnest. I don't think the name suits me at all.
Well, it suits you perfectly. It is a divine name. It has a music of its own. It produces vibrations.
That's really good, and I must say I think there are lots of much nicer names. I think Jack, for instance, a charming name.
Jack? No, there is very little music in the name Jack. It does not thrill, it produces absolutely no vibrations. I have known several Jacks, and they all, without exception, have been more than usually plain. Besides, Jack is a notorious domesticity for John, and I pity any woman who was married to a man called John. The only really safe name is Earnest.
My dear, I must get christened at once. I mean, we must get married at once. There's no time to be lost.
Married, Mr. Worthing.
But surely, you know that I love you, and you led me to believe, Miss Fairfax, you were not entirely indifferent to me.
I adore you, but you haven't even proposed to me yet. Nothing at all has been said about marriage. The subject has not even been touched on.
Well, may I propose to you now?
I think it would be an admirable idea. And to spare you any possible disappointment, Mr. Worthing, I feel it quite important to tell you beforehand that I am fully determined to accept you.
Gwendolyn,
Yes, Mr. Worthing, what have you got to say to me?
you know what I've got to say to you.
Yes, but you don't say it.
Gwendolyn, you marry me.
Oh, yes, of course, darling. How long have you been about it? I'm afraid you have had very little experience in how to propose.
My own one. I've never loved anyone in the world but you.
Yes, but men often propose for practice. I know my brother Gerald does. All my girlfriends tell me so. What wonderfully brown eyes you have, Ernest. They are quite chestnut. I hope you will always look at me just like that, especially when there are other people present.
Mr. Worthing, rise, sir, from this semi-recumbent posture. It is most indecorous.
Mamma, I must beg you to retire. There's no place for you. Besides, Mr. Worthing has not quite finished yet.
Finished what, may I ask?
I am engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Oh, I beg your pardon, but you are not engaged to anyone. When you do become engaged, either I, or your father, should his health permit it, will inform you of the fact. An engagement should come upon a young girl as a surprise. Pleasant, or unpleasant, as the case may be. It is hardly a matter that she could be allowed to decide for herself. And now, Mr. Worthing, I have some questions to put to you. While I am making these inquiries, Gwendolyn, you will wait for me below in the carriage.
Mamma,
In the carriage, Gwendolyn! Gwendolyn! The carriage! You can take a seat, Mr. Worthing.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell. I prefer standing.
Before we begin, I feel bound to tell you that you are not down on my list of eligible young men. However, I am willing to add your name should your answers be what a really affectionate mother requires. Do you smoke?
Yes, I must admit I smoke.
I'm pleased to hear it. A man should always have an occupation of some kind. There are far too many idle men in London as it is. How old are you?
29.
A very good age to be married at. Now, I have always been of the opinion that a man who desires to get married should know either everything or nothing. Which do you know?
I know nothing, Lady Bracknell.
I'm pleased to hear it. I do not approve of anything that tampers with natural ignorance. Ignorance is like a delicate exotic fruit. Touch it, and the bloom is gone. No, Fortunately, in England, at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. How old are you? Oh, I'm sorry. What is your income?
Between 7,000 and 8,000 a year.
In land or in investments?
In investments, chiefly.
That is satisfactory.
I own a house in the country with some land, of course, attached to it. About 1,500 acres, I believe.
A country house? Ooh. You have a townhouse, I hope. A girl with a simple, unspoiled nature such as Gwendolen could hardly be expected to reside in the country.
Well, I own a house in Belgrave Square, but it is let by the year to Lady Bloxham. Of course, I can get it back whenever I like. It's 6 months' notice.
Lady Bloxham? I don't know her.
Oh, she gets about very little. She is a lady considerably advanced in years.
Ah, well, nowadays that is no guarantee of respectability of character. What number in Belgrave Square?
149.
Oh, the unfashionable side. I thought there was something. However, that could easily be altered.
Do you mean the fashion or the size?
Both, if necessary, I presume. Are your parents living?
I have lost both my parents, Lady Bracknell.
Both? To lose one parent, Mr. Worthing, may be regarded as a misfortune. To lose both looks like carelessness. Who was your father? He was evidently a man of some wealth.
I must admit I really don't know. The fact is, Lady Bracknell, I said I'd lost my parents. It would be nearer to the truth to say my parents seem to have lost me. I don't actually know who I am by birth. I was found.
Found?
The late Mr. Thomas Cardew, an old gentleman of a very charitable and kindly disposition, found me. He gave me the name of Worthing because he happened to have a first-class ticket for Worthing in his pocket at the time. Worthing is a place in Sussex. It's a seaside resort.
And where did this charitable gentleman with the first-class ticket to the seaside resort find you?
In a handbag.
A handbag?
Yes, Lady Bracknell, I was in a handbag. A somewhat large, floral-printed handbag with handles to it. An ordinary handbag, in fact.
And in what locality did this Mr. James or Thomas Cardew come across this ordinary handbag?
In the cloakroom at Victoria Station. It was given to him in mistake for his own.
The cloakroom at Victoria Station?
Yes, the Latin line.
The line is immaterial! Mr. Worthing, I must confess I feel somewhat bewildered by what you have just told me. To be born, or at any rate, bred in a handbag, whether it had handles or not, seems to me to display a contempt for the ordinary decencies of family life, which reminds one of the worst excesses of the French Revolution. And I presume you know what that unfortunate movement led to. As for the particular locality in which the handbag was found, the cloakroom at a railway station might serve to conceal some slight social indiscretion which has probably been used for that very purpose before now. But it could hardly be used as an assured basis for a recognized position in good society.
May I ask you then what you would have me do? I need hardly say I would do anything in the world to ensure Gwendolyn's happiness.
Well, I would strongly advise you, Mr. Worthing, to try and acquire some relations as soon as possible, and to make a definite effort to produce at least one parent of either sex before the season is quite over.
Well, I really do say I could possibly manage to do that. I can produce the handbag at any moment. I really think that should satisfy you, Lady Bracknell.
Me, sir? But what has it to do with me? You can hardly imagine that I and Lord Bracknell would ever dream of allowing our only daughter, a girl brought up with the utmost care, to marry into a cloakroom and form an alliance with a parcel. Good morning, Mr. Worthing. Oh.
Good morning! For goodness sake, don't play that Gothic tune, Algy! Idiotic you are!
Didn't it go off all right, old boy? You don't mean to say Gwendolyn refused you?
As far as she is concerned, we are engaged. Her mother is perfectly unbearable. Never met such a gorgon. I don't really know what a gorgon is like, but I'm quite sure that Lady Bracknell is one. In any case, she is a monster. I beg your pardon, Algy. I suppose I shouldn't talk in that way about your own aunt before you.
My dear boy, I love hearing my relations abused. Relations are simply a tedious pack of people who haven't the remotest knowledge about how to live, nor the smallest instinct about when to die!
I don't suppose there's any chance of Gwendolyn becoming like her mother in about 150 years, do you, Algy?
All women become like their mothers. That's their tragedy. No man ever does. That's his.
Is that clever?
It is perfectly phrased, and quite as true as any observation in civilized life should be.
I am sick to death of cleverness! Everybody is clever nowadays. You can't go anywhere without meeting clever people. The thing has become an absolute public nuisance! I wish to goodness we had a few fools left.
We have.
Oh, I should extremely like to meet them. What did they talk about?
Oh, the fools? Oh, of course, the clever people.
What fools?
By the way, did you tell Gwendolyn the truth about you being Ernest in town and Jack in the country?
My dear fellow, the truth isn't quite the sort of thing one tells to a nice, sweet, refined girl.
But what about your brother? What about Ernest?
Oh, I shall have got rid of him by the end of the week. I'll say he died suddenly in Paris by a severe chill. That gets rid of him.
But I thought you said that Miss Cardew was a little too much interested in your poor brother Ernest. Won't she feel his loss a good deal?
And that is all right. Cecily's not a silly, romantic girl, I'm glad to say. She's got a capital appetite, goes on walks, and pays no attention at all to her lessons.
I would rather like to see Cecily.
I will take very good care you never do. She's excessively pretty and only just 18.
Have you told Gwendolyn yet that you have an excessively pretty ward who is only just 18?
One doesn't blurt these things out to people. Cecily and Gwendolyn are perfectly certain to be extremely great friends. Why, I'll bet you anything you like. Half an hour after they've met, they'll be calling each other sister.
My dear boy, women only do that when they call each other a lot of other things first. Now, if we want to get a good table at Willis's, we really must go and dress. Do you know it is nearly 7?
It is always nearly 7.
Well, I'm hungry.
I never knew you when you weren't.
Miss Fairfax.
Gwendolyn, upon my word.
Algy, kindly turn your back. I have something very particular to say to Mr. Worthing.
Really, Gwendolyn? I don't think I can allow this at all.
Algy! You always adopt such a strictly immoral attitude toward life. You're not quite old enough to do that.
Oh, darling.
Ernest! We may never be married. From the expression on Mamma's face, I fear we never shall. But although we may marry someone else and marry often, nothing she could ever do could alter my eternal devotion to you.
Dear Gwendolyn.
The story of your romantic origin, as related to me by Mamma with unpleasing comments, has naturally stirred the deeper fibers of my nature. Your Christian name has an irresistible fascination. The simplicity of your character is exquisitely incomprehensible to me. What did you address in the country?
The Manor House, Woolton, Hertfordshire.
It may be necessary to do something desperate. I will communicate with you daily.
My own one.
How long do you remain in town?
Till Monday.
Good. Algy, you may turn round now.
Thanks, I've turned around already.
You may also ring the bell.
You will let me see you to your carriage, my own darling.
Certainly.
I will see Miss Fairfax out.
Yes, sir.
Bill, would you look at this? Addressed to Lane.
Thank you, sir.
A glass of sherry, Lane.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow, Lane? I'm going Bunbury.
Yes, sir.
I shall probably not be back till Monday, so you can take my dress clothes, my smoking jacket, and all the Bunbury suit.
Yes, sir.
I hope tomorrow will be a fine day, Lane.
It never is, sir.
There's a sensible, intellectual girl. The only girl I cared for in all my life. What on earth are you to amuse that?
Oh, I'm just a little anxious about poor Bunbury, that is all.
If you don't take care, your poor friend Bunbury will get into a serious scrape someday.
Oh, I love scrapes. They're the only things that are never serious.
Oh, that is nonsense, Algy! You never talk anything but nonsense!
Nobody ever does.
Cecily! Cecily! Surely, such a utilitarian occupation as the watering of flowers is rather Moulton's duty than yours, especially at a moment where intellectual pleasures await you. Your German grammar is on the table. Pray open it at page 15. We will repeat yesterday's lesson.
I don't like German. It isn't at all a becoming language. I know perfectly well I look quite plain after my German lesson.
Child, you know how anxious your guardian is that you should improve yourself in every way.
Dear Uncle Jack is so very serious. Sometimes he is so serious I think he cannot be quite well.
Cecily, I'm surprised at you! Mr. Worthing has many troubles in his life. Idle merriment and triviality would be out of place in his conversation. You must remember his constant anxiety about that unfortunate young man, his brother.
I wish Uncle Jack would allow that unfortunate young man, his brother, to come down here sometimes. We might have a good influence over him, Miss Prism. I'm sure you certainly would. You know, German and geology and things of that kind can influence a man very much.
I don't think that even I could produce an effect on a character that, according to his own brother's admission, is irretrievably weak and vacillating. You must put away your diary, Cecily. I really don't see why you should keep a diary at all.
I keep a diary in order to enter the wonderful secrets of my life. If I didn't write them down, I should surely forget all about them.
Memory, my dear Cecily. It is the diary that we all carry about with us.
Yes, but it usually chronicles things that have never happened and couldn't possibly have happened. I believe memory is responsible for nearly all the 3-volume novels Moody sends us.
Do not speak slightingly of a 3-volume novel, Cecily. I wrote one myself in younger days.
Did you really, Miss Prism? How wonderfully clever you are. I hope it did not end happily. I don't like novels that end happily. They depress me so much.
The good ended happily and the bad unhappily. That is what fiction means.
And was your novel ever published?
Alas, no. The manuscript was unfortunately lost. To your work, child. These speculations are profitless.
But I see dear Dr. Chasuble coming up through the garden.
Dr. Chasuble! This is indeed a pleasure!
How are we this morning, Miss Prism? You are, I trust, well.
Miss Prism has just been complaining of a slight headache. I think it would do her so much good to have a short stroll in the park with you, Dr. Chasuble.
Cecily, I have not mentioned anything about a headache.
Oh, yes, dear Miss Prism, I know that, but I felt it instinctively that you had a headache. Indeed, I was thinking about that and not about my German lesson when the rector came in.
I hope, Cecily, that you're not inattentive.
Afraid I am.
That is strange. Were I fortunate enough to be Miss Prism's pupil, I would hang upon her lips. I spoke metaphorically, but metaphor was drawn from bees.
Bees?
Mr. Worthing, I suppose, has not returned from town yet?
We do not expect him till Monday afternoon.
Ah, yes, he usually likes to spend his Sundays in London. He's not one of those whose sole aim is pleasure, as, by all accounts, that unfortunate young man, his brother, seems to be. But I shall not disturb Egeria and her pupil any longer.
Egeria? My name is Letitia, Doctor.
A classical allusion merely, drawn from the pagan authors. I shall see you both, no doubt, in evensong.
I think, dear Doctor, I will have a stroll with you. I find I have a headache after all, and I think a walk might do it good.
With pleasure, Miss Prism, with pleasure. We might go as far as the schools and back.
That would be delightful. Cecily, you will continue your political economy in my absence.
Horrid political economy, horrid geography, horrid, damn it!
Mr. Worthing has just driven over from the station. He's brought his luggage with him.
Mr. Ernest Worthing, before the Auburn... Uncle Jack's brother! Did you tell him Mr. Worthing was in town?
Yes, miss. He seemed very disappointed. I mentioned that you and Miss Prism were in the garden. He said he was, anxious to speak to you privately for a moment.
Ask Mr. Worthing to come here, and I suppose you'd better talk to the housekeeper about the room for him.
Yes, miss.
Never met a really wicked person before. Feel rather frightened. I'm so afraid he will look just like everyone else. He does.
You are my little cousin Cecily, I'm sure.
You are under some strange mistake. I am not little. In fact, I believe I am more than usually tall for my age. But I am your cousin Cecily. From your card, I see you are Uncle Jack's brother, my cousin Ernest. My wicked cousin Ernest.
Oh, I'm not really wicked at all, cousin Cecily. You mustn't think that I'm wicked.
If you are not, then you have certainly been deceiving us all in a very inexcusable manner. I hope you have not been leading a double life, pretending to be wicked when really being good all the time. That would be hypocrisy.
Oh, well, of course I have been rather reckless.
Glad to hear it.
In fact, now that you mention the subject, I have been very bad in my own small way. That is why I want you to reform me. You might make that your mission if you don't mind, cousin Cecily.
I'm afraid I have no time this afternoon.
Well, would you mind my reforming myself this afternoon?
I think you should try.
I will. I feel better already.
You're looking a little worse.
That is because I'm hungry.
How thoughtless of me! I should have remembered. When one is leading an entirely new life, one requires regular and wholesome meals. Won't you come in?
Thank you. Might I have a buttonhole first? I never have any appetite unless I've had a buttonhole first.
A yellow rose?
No, I'd sooner have a pink rose.
Why?
Because you are like a pink rose, cousin Cecily.
I don't think it would be right for you to talk to me like that. Miss Prism never says such things to me.
Then Miss Prism is a short-sighted old lady. You're the prettiest girl I ever saw.
Miss Prism says all good looks are a snare.
They are a snare. One that every sensible man would love to get caught in.
I don't think I would care to catch a sensible man. I shouldn't know what to talk to him about.
Oh, you are too much alone, Dr. Chasuble. You should get married. You do not seem to realize, dear doctor, that by persistently remaining single, a man converts himself into a permanent public temptation. Men should be more careful. This very celibacy leads weaker vessels astray.
But is a man not equally attractive when married?
No married man is ever attractive, except to his wife.
And often, as I've been told, not even to her.
Mr. Worthing!
Mr. Worthing!
This is indeed a surprise. We did not look for you till Monday afternoon.
You returned sooner than I expected. Dr. Chasuble, I hope you're well.
Mr. Worthing, I trust this garb of woe does not betoken some terrible calamity?
My brother.
More shameful debts and extravagance.
Still leading his life of pleasure.
Dead!
Brother Ernest dead?
Quite dead.
What a lesson for him. I'm sure he'll profit by it.
Mr. Worthing, I offer you my sincere condolences. You have at least the consolation of knowing you were always the most generous and forgiving of brothers.
Poor Ernest. He had many faults, but it is a sad, sad blow.
Very sad indeed. Were you with him in the end?
No, he died abroad in Paris, in fact. I had a telegram last night from the manager of the Grand Hotel.
Was the cause of death mentioned?
A severe chill, it seems.
Well, as a man sows, so shall he reap.
Charity, dear Miss Prism, charity. None of us are perfect. I myself am peculiarly susceptible to drafts. Will the interment take place here?
No, he seems to have expressed a desire to be buried in Paris.
In Paris? Oh, I fear that hardly points to any very serious state of mind at the last. You would no doubt wish me to make some slight allusion as to the tragic domestic affliction next Sunday.
Ah, that reminds me. Dr. Charles, but I suppose you're out of christen all right? I mean, you are, of course, continually christening, aren't you?
Oh, these, I regret to say, the rector's most constant duties in this parish. I've often spoken to the poor classes on the subject.
But is there any particular infant in whom you're interested, Mr. Worthing? Your brother was unmarried, I believe, was he not?
Oh, yes.
People who live entirely for pleasure usually are.
But it is not for any child, dear doctor. No, the fact is, I would like to be christened myself this afternoon if you have nothing better to do.
But surely, Mr. Worthing, you've been christened already.
I don't remember anything about it.
Have you any grave doubts on the subject?
I certainly intend to have. Of course, I don't know if the thing would bother you in any way, or if you think I'm a little too old now.
Not at all. At what hour would you wish the ceremony performed?
Would 5:30 do?
Admirably. admirably. And now, I must not go any longer into a house of sorrow. I merely begged you not to bow down by grief. What seem to us bitter trials now are often blessings in disguise.
This seems to me a blessing of an extremely obvious kind.
Oh, Uncle Jack, I am pleased to see you back. Oh, what horrid clothes you've got on. Do go and change them.
Cecily!
What is the matter, Uncle Jack? Do you look happy? You look as if you had a toothache, and I have such a surprise for you. Who do you think is in the dining room? Your brother.
Who?
Your brother, Ernest. He arrived about half an hour ago.
What nonsense! I haven't got a brother.
Don't say that. However badly he may have behaved towards you in the past, he's still your brother. You couldn't be so heartless as to disown him. I'll tell him to come out and you'll shake hands with him, won't you, Uncle Jack?
These are very joyful tidings.
After we'd all been resigned to his death, his sudden return seems to me particularly distressing.
My brother's in the dining room. I don't know what it all means. I think it is perfectly absurd.
Good heavens! Brother John! I've come down to tell you that I'm very sorry about all of the trouble that I've given you, and that I intend you to live a better life in the future.
Uncle Jack, you are not going to refuse your own brother's hand.
Nothing will induce me to take his hand. I think his coming here disgraceful. He knows perfectly well why.
Uncle Jack, do be nice. Ernest has just been telling me about his poor invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, whom he goes to visit so often. And surely there must be much good in one who is kind to an invalid and leaves the pleasures of London to sit by a bed of pain.
Oh, he's been talking to you about Bunbury, has he?
Yes, he's told me all about poor Mr. Bunbury and his terrible state of health.
Bunbury. Well, I won't have him talk to you about Bunbury or anything else. It's enough to drive one perfectly frantic.
Of course, I admit that the faults were all on my side, but I must say that I think that Brother John's coldness to me seems peculiarly painful. I expected a more enthusiastic welcome, especially considering this is the first time that I've come here.
Uncle Jack, if you don't shake hands with Ernest, I shall never forgive you.
Never forgive me.
Never, never, never.
Well, this is the last time I shall ever do it.
It is wonderful, is it not, to see so perfect a reconciliation? I think we might leave the two brothers here together.
Cecily, you will come with us.
Certainly, Miss Prism, my little task of reconciliation is over.
You have done a beautiful action today, dear child.
We must not be premature in our judgment.
I'm very happy.
You young scoundrel, Algy! You've got to get out of this place as soon as possible! And don't allow any Bunbury here!
I put Mr. Worthing's things in the room next to yours, so I suppose it's all right.
What?
Mr. Worthing's luggage, sir. I've unpacked it and put it in the room next to your own.
His luggage?
Yes, sir. 3 portmanteaus, a dressing case, 2 hat boxes, a large luncheon basket.
I'm afraid I can't stay more than a week this time.
Merrymen! Order the dog cart at once. Mr. Earnest has been suddenly called back to town.
Oh, yes, sir.
What a fearful liar you are, Jack. I've not been called back to town at all.
Yes, you have.
I haven't heard anyone call me.
Your duty as a gentleman calls you back.
Oh, my duties as a gentleman have never interfered with my pleasures in the smallest degree.
I can certainly understand that.
Well, Cecily is a darling.
You are not to talk to Miss Cardew like that. I don't like it.
Well, I don't like your clothes. You look perfectly ridiculous in them. Why on earth did you go up and change? It is perfectly childish to be in deep mourning for a man who is actually staying with you in your house for a whole week as a guest. I call it grotesque.
You are certainly not staying with me for a whole week as a guest or anything else. You've got to leave by the 4:05 train.
Well, I certainly won't leave you so long as you are in mourning. That would be most unfriendly.
Your vanity is ridiculous. Your conduct an outrage, and your presence in my garden utterly absurd. However, you've got to leave by the 4:05, and I hope you have a pleasant journey back to town. This plundering, as you call it, has not been a great success for you.
I think it has been a great success. I'm in love with Cecily, and that is everything.
Oh, I thought you were with Uncle Jack.
He's gone to order the dog cart for me.
Oh, is he going to take you for a nice drive?
He's sending me away.
And have we got to park?
I'm afraid so.
The dog car's at the door, sir.
We can wait, Merriman, for 5 minutes.
Yes, miss.
I hope, Cecily, I shall not offend if I state quite frankly and openly that you seem to me in every way the visible personification of absolute perfection.
I think your frankness does you great credit, Ernest. If you will allow me, I should like to copy your remarks into my diary.
Do you really keep a diary? I'd give anything to look at it, may I?
Oh, no. It is simply a very young girl's record of her own thoughts and impressions, and consequently meant for publication. When it appears in volume form, I hope you order a copy. But pray, Ernest, don't stop. I delight in taking down from dictation. I have reached absolute perfection. Go on, I'm quite ready for more.
Cecily, ever since I first laid my eyes upon your wonderful and incomparable beauty, I have dared to love you wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly.
The dog cart is waiting.
Tell us to come round next week at the same hour.
Uncle Jack would be very annoyed if he knew you were staying on till next week at the same hour.
Oh, I don't care about Jack. I don't care for anyone in the whole world but you. I love you, Cecily. You will marry me, won't you?
You silly boy, of course. Why, we've been engaged for the last 3 months.
For the last 3 months?
Yes, it will be exactly 3 months on Thursday.
But how did we become engaged?
Well, ever since dear Uncle Jack first confessed to us that he had a younger brother who was very wicked and bad, you of course formed the chief topic of conversation between myself and Miss Prism. And a man who is much talked about is often very attractive. One feels there must be something in him after all. I dare say it was foolish of me, but I fell in love with you, Ernest.
Darling, and when was the engagement actually settled?
On the 14th of February last, 1 hour by your complete ignorance of my existence, I determined to end the matter one way or another, and after a long struggle with myself, I accepted you. The next day I went out and bought this little ring in your name.
Did I give you this? It's very pretty, isn't it?
Yes, you've wonderfully good taste, Ernest. Now you mustn't laugh at me, darling, but it had always been a girlish dream of mine to love a man named Ernest. Something in the name seems to inspire absolute confidence. I pity any poor married woman whose husband is not called Ernest.
But my own sweet, loving little darling, do you mean to say you couldn't love me if I had some other name?
But what other name?
Any name. Like Algernon, for instance.
I don't like the name of Algernon.
But my dear child, I really can't see any reason why you should object to the name of Algernon. It is not at all a bad name. In fact, it is a rather aristocratic name. But seriously, Cecily, if my name was Algie, couldn't you love me?
I might respect you, Ernest. I might admire your character, but I fear I would not be able to give you my full, undivided attention.
Cecily, your rector here is, I suppose, thoroughly experienced in all rites and practices of the church.
Oh, yes, Dr. Chasuble is a most learned man.
I must see him at once on most important christening. I mean, most important business.
Oh.
I shan't be away in more than half an hour.
Considering we have been engaged since the 14th and I have only just met you today, I feel it rather hard you should leave me for so long a period as half an hour. Can't you make it 20 minutes?
I'll be back in no time.
What an impetuous boy he is. I like his hair so much. I must enter his proposal into my diary.
The Miss Fairfax has called to see Mr. Worthing on very important business. Miss Fairfax states.
Is it Mr. Worthing in his library?
Mr. Worthing went in the direction of the rectory some time ago.
Pray ask the lady to come here. Mr. Worthing is sure to be back soon.
Yes, miss.
And you can bring tea.
Okay.
Miss Fairfax, I suppose one of the many good elderly women associated with Uncle Jack in some philanthropic work in London.
Miss Fairfax.
Pray let me introduce myself to you. My name is Cecily Cardew.
Cecily Cardew? What a very sweet name. Something tells me that we are going to be great friends. I like you already more than I can say. My first impressions of people are never wrong.
How nice of you to like me so much after we have known each other such a comparatively short amount of time. Pray sit down.
I may call you Cecily, may I not?
With pleasure.
And you will always call me Gwendolen, won't you?
If you wish.
Then that is all quite settled now, is it not?
I hope so.
Perhaps this might be a favourable opportunity for my mentioning who I am. My father is Lord Bracknell. You have heard of Papa, I suppose.
I don't think so.
Outside the family circle, Papa, I'm glad to say, is entirely unknown. I think that is all quite as it should be. Cecily, Mamma, whose views on education, remarkably strict, has brought me up to be extremely short-sighted. So do you mind my looking at you through my glasses?
Not at all, Gwendolyn. I'm very fond of being looked at.
You are here on a short visit, I suppose?
Oh no, I live here.
Really? Your mother, no doubt, or some other female character of advanced years resides here also.
Oh no, no mother, nor in fact any relations.
Indeed.
My dear guardian, with the assistance of Miss Prism, has the arduous task of looking after me.
Your guardian?
Yes, I'm Mr. Worthing's ward.
Oh! It is very strange. He never mentioned to me that he had a ward. How secretive of him. He grows more interesting hourly. I am not sure, however, that this news inspires me with feelings of unmixed delight. I am very fond of you, Cecily. I've liked you ever since I met you, but I am bound to state that now that I know that you are Mr. Worthing's ward, I cannot help expressing a wish you were. Well, a little bit older than you seem to be, and not quite so very alluring in appearance. In fact, if I may speak candidly on the subject...
Pray do, Gwendolyn. I think whenever anyone has anything unpleasant to say, one should always be quite candid.
Well, to speak with perfect candor, Cecily, I wish you were fully 42 and more than usually plain for your age. Ernest has a strong, upright nature. He is the very soul of truth and honor. But even men of the noblest possible moral character are extremely susceptible to the influence of the physical charms of others.
I beg your pardon, Gwendolyn, did you say Ernest?
Yes.
Oh, but it is not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is my guardian. It is his brother, his elder brother.
Ernest never mentioned to me that he had a brother.
Sorry to say, they have not been on good terms for a long time.
Oh, that accounts for it then. Cecily, you have lifted a load from my mind. I was growing almost anxious. It would have been terrible for any cloud to have come across a friendship like ours, would it not? Of course, you are quite certain it is not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is your guardian.
Quite certain. In fact, I'm going to be his.
I beg your pardon.
Dearest Gwendolyn, there's no reason why I should keep a secret of it to you. Our little county newspaper is sure to chronicle the event next week. Mr. Ernest Worthing and I are engaged to be married.
My darling Cecily, I think there might be some slight error. Mr. Ernest Worthing is engaged to me. The announcement will appear in the Morning Post on Saturday at the latest.
I'm afraid you must be under some misconception. Ernest proposed to me exactly 10 minutes ago.
It is certainly very curious, for he asked me to be his wife yesterday afternoon at 5:30. If you care to verify the incident, pray do so. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read on the train. I am so sorry, dear Cecily, if it is any disappointment to you, but I'm afraid I have the prior claim.
It would distress me more than I can tell you, dear sweet Gwendolyn, if it caused you any mental or physical anguish, but I feel bound to point out that since Ernest proposed to you, he clearly has changed his mind.
If the poor fellow has entrapped himself into any foolish promise, I shall consider it my duty to rescue him at once, and with a firm hand.
Whatever unfortunate entanglement my dear boy may have gotten into, I shall not reproach him with it after we are married.
Do you allude to me, Miss Cardew, as an entanglement? You are presumptuous. On an occasion of this kind, it becomes more than a moral duty to speak one's mind. It becomes a pleasure.
You suggest, Miss Fairfax, that I entrapped Ernest into an engagement. How dare you? This is no time for wearing the shallow mask of manners. When I see a spade, I call it a spade.
I am glad to say that I have never seen a spade. It is obvious that our social spheres have been widely different.
Shall I lay tea here as usual, miss?
Yes, as usual.
Are there many interesting walks in the vicinity, Miss Cardew?
Oh, yes, a great many. From the top of one of the hills quite close, you can see 5 counties.
5 counties? I don't think I should like that very much. I hate crowds.
I suppose that is why you live in town.
Quite a well-kept garden this is, Miss Cardew.
So glad you like it, Miss Fairfax.
I had no idea there were so many flowers in the country.
Oh, flowers are as common here, Miss Fairfax, as people are in London.
Personally, I cannot understand how anybody manages to live in the country, if anybody who is anybody does. The country always bores me to death.
May I offer you some tea, Miss Fairfax?
Thank you. Detestable girl, but I require tea.
Sugar?
No, thank you. Sugar is not fashionable anymore.
Cake or bread and butter?
Bread and butter, please. Cake is rarely seen in the best houses nowadays.
And that's Miss Fairfax.
You have filled my tea with lumps of sugar, and though I most distinctly asked for bread and butter, you have given me cake. I am known for the extraordinary sweetness of my nature and the gentleness of my disposition, but I warn you, Miss Cardew, you may go too far.
To save my poor, innocent, trusting boy from the machinations of another girl, there are no lengths to which I would not go.
From the moment I met you, I distrusted you. I felt you were false and deceitful. I am never deceived in such matters. My first impressions of people are invariably right.
It appears to me, Miss Fairfax, that I am trespassing on your valuable time. You no doubt have many other calls of a similar character to make in the neighborhood.
Ernest, my own Ernest! A moment. May I ask if you are engaged to be married to this young lady?
To dear little Cecily. Of course not. What could have put such a silly idea to your pretty little head?
Oh, thank you. You may.
I knew there must have been some sort of misunderstanding. Miss Fairfax, the man whose arm is presently around your waist is my dear guardian, Mr. John Worthing.
I beg your pardon?
This is Uncle Jack.
Jack! Oh!
Here's Ernest.
My own love!
A moment, Ernest. Are you engaged to be married to this young lady here?
To what young lady? Ah! Good heavens, Gwendolen!
Yes, to good heavens, I mean to Gwendolyn.
Of course not! What would put such an idea in your pretty little head?
Thank you, you may.
Miss Cardew, I felt there was some slight error. The man you are now embracing is my dear cousin, Mr. Algernon Moncrief.
Algernon Moncrief. Oh! Are you called Algernon?
I cannot deny it.
Is your name really John?
I could deny it if I liked. I could deny anything if I liked. But my name certainly is John. It has been John for years.
A gross deception has been practiced on the both of us.
My poor wounded Cecily!
We wronged Gwendolyn.
You will call me sister, will you not?
There is just one question I should like to be permitted to ask my guardian.
An excellent idea. Mr. Worthing, there is just one question I would like to be permitted to ask you. Where is your brother Ernest? We are both engaged to be married to him, so I think it is of some importance we know where your brother Ernest is at present.
Gwendolyn. Cecily. It is very painful for me to be forced to speak the truth. This is the first time in my life I've ever been reduced to such a painful position, and I'm really quite inexperienced in doing anything of the kind. However, I will tell you frankly, I have no brother, Ernest. I have no brother at all. I never had a brother in all my life, and I certainly have not the slightest intention of ever having one in the future.
No brother at all.
None.
Have you never a brother of any kind?
Never, not even of any kind.
I think it is very clear, dear Cecily, that neither of us is engaged to be married to anyone.
It's not a very pleasant position for a young girl to suddenly find herself in, is it?
Let us go into the house. They will hardly come after us there.
No men are so cowardly, aren't they?
This ghastly state of things is what you call Bunburying, I suppose.
Yes, and a perfectly wonderful Bunbury it is, too. The most wonderful Bunbury I have ever had in my life.
Well, you have no right whatsoever to Bunbury here!
Oh, that is absurd. One has right to Bunbury wherever one chooses. Every serious Bunburyist knows that.
Serious Bunburyist. Merriman! Good heavens!
Well, Jack, one must be serious about something if one wants any satisfaction in life. I happen to be serious about Bunbury. What on earth are you serious about that I haven't got the remotest idea? About everything, I should fancy.
Well, the only small satisfaction I take in the whole of this wretched business is that your friend Bunbury is quite exploded. You won't be able to run down to the country quite as often as you used to, and a very good thing, too.
Your brother is a little off color, isn't he, dear Jack? You won't be able to rush up to London so often as your wicked custom was. And not a bad thing either.
As for your conduct toward Miss Cardew, I must say, your taking in a sweet, simple, innocent girl like that is quite inexcusable, to say nothing of the fact that she is my ward.
I can see no possible defense for your deceiving a brilliant, clever, thoroughly experienced young lady like Miss Fairfax, to say nothing of the fact that she is my cousin.
I simply wanted to be engaged to Gwendolen. That is all. I love her.
Well, I simply wanted to be engaged to Cecily. That is all. I adore her.
There's certainly no chance of your marrying Miss Cardew.
Well, I don't see much likelihood, Jack, of you and Miss Fairfax being united.
Well, that is no business of yours!
If it was my business, I wouldn't be talking about it. It is very vulgar to talk about one's business. Only people like stockbrokers do that. And then merely at dinner parties.
How can you sit there, calmly eating muffins, while we're in this horrible trouble I can't make out? You seem to me to be perfectly heartless.
Well, I can't eat muffins in an agitated manner. The butter will probably get on my cuffs. One must always eat muffins quite calmly. It is the only way to eat them.
I say, your eating muffins at all is perfectly heartless under the circumstances.
When I am in trouble, eating is the only thing that consoles me. At the present moment, I'm eating muffins because I am unhappy. Besides, I'm particularly fond of muffins.
Well, that is a reason you should eat them all in that really way.
I wish you would have tea cake instead. I don't like tea cake.
Good heavens! I suppose a man made his own muffins in his own garden.
But you have just said it was perfectly heartless to eat muffins.
I said it was perfectly heartless of you under the circumstances. That is a very different thing.
That may be, but the muffins are the same.
Algy, I wish to goodness you would go.
You can't possibly ask me to go without having some dinner. It's absurd. I never go without dinner. Nobody ever does. Except vegetarians. Ugh. Besides, I've just made arrangements with Dr. Chasuble to be christened at 5:45, under the name of Earnest.
My dear fellow, the sooner you give up that nonsense, the better. I have already made arrangements with Dr. Chasuble this morning to be christened myself at 5:30. And naturally, I'll take the name of Earnest. Gwendolen would wish it. We can't both be christened Earnest, it's absurd. Besides, I have a perfect right to be christened if I like. There's no evidence at all that I have ever been christened by anybody, and I should think it extremely probable I never was, and so does Dr. Chasuble. It's entirely different in your case. You have been christened already.
Yes, but I haven't been christened in years.
Guess what, you have been christened! That is the important thing!
Jack, you had the muffins again. I wish to goodness you wouldn't. There are only 2 left. I told you I'm particularly fond of muffins.
But I hate tea cake!
Why on earth would you allow tea cake served up for your guests? What ideas you have of hospitality?
Algernon! I have only told you to go! I don't want you here! Why don't you go?
I haven't quite finished my tea yet. And there's still 1 muffin left.
They're eating muffins. That looks like repentance.
They don't seem to notice us at all. Couldn't you cough?
But I haven't a cough.
Let us preserve a dignified silence.
Certainly is the only thing to do now.
This dignified silence seems to produce an unpleasant effect.
A most distasteful one.
But we will not be the first to speak.
Certainly not.
Mr. Worthing, I have something very particular to ask you. Much depends on your reply.
Gwendolen, your common sense is invaluable. Mr. Moncrief! Kindly answer me the following. Why did you pretend to be my guardian's brother?
In order that I might have an opportunity for meeting you.
Certainly seems a satisfactory response.
Yes, dear, if you can believe him.
I don't, but that does not affect the wonderful beauty of his answer.
Mr. Worthing, what explanation can you offer to me for pretending to have a brother? Was it on account that you could come up here to visit me as often as possible?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the gravest doubts upon the subject, and I intend to crush them. Their explanations seem to be quite satisfactory, especially Mr. Worthing's. That to me seems to have the stamp of truth upon it.
I am more than content with what Mr. Moncrief has said. His voice alone inspires one with absolute credulity.
So you think we should forgive them then?
Yes. I mean no.
True. I had forgotten. There are principles at stake that one cannot surrender. Which of us should be the first to tell them the task is not a pleasant one?
Could we not both speak at the same time?
An excellent idea. I almost always speak at the same time as other people. Will you take the time from me?
Certainly.
Your Christian names are still an inseparable barrier. That is all.
Our Christian names, is that all? But we are going to be christened this afternoon.
For me, are you prepared to do this terrible thing?
I am.
Please me, are you willing to face this fearful ordeal?
I am.
How absurd to talk of the equality of the sexes. When moments of self-sacrifice are concerned, men are infinitely beyond us.
We are.
They have moments of physical courage of which we women know nothing.
We do.
Darling!
Lady Bracknell! Good heavens! Gwendolyn! What does this mean?
Merely that I'm engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Come here. Sit down. Sit down immediately. Hesitation of any kind is a sign of mental decay in the young, of physical weakness in the old. Apprised, sir, of my daughter's sudden flight by her trusting maid, whose confidence I purchased by means of a small coin. I followed her at once by a luggage train. Of course, you will clearly understand that all communication between yourself and my daughter must cease immediately, from this moment. On this point, is indeed on all points, I am firm.
I am engaged to be married to Gwendolyn, Lady Bracknell.
You are nothing of the kind, sir. And now, as regards to Algernon. Algernon?
Yes, Aunt Augusta?
May I ask if it is in this house that your invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, resides?
Oh, no, Bunbury doesn't live here. Bunbury is somewhere else at present. In fact, Bunbury... Bunbury is dead!
Dead? When did Mr. Bunbury die?
Oh, I killed Bunbury Bunbury died this afternoon!
What did he die of?
He was quite exploded.
Exploded? Was he the victim of a revolutionary outrage? I was not aware that Mr. Bunbury was interested in social legislation. If so, he is well punished for his morbidity.
My dear Aunt Augusta, what I mean is, Bunbury was found out. The doctors found out that Bunbury couldn't live. That is what I mean. So Bunbury died.
Well, he seems to have had great confidence in the opinion of his physicians. I am glad, however, that he made up his mind at last to some definite course of action and acted under proper medical advice. And now that we have finally got rid of this Mr. Bunbury, may I ask you, Mr. Worthing, who is that young person whose hand my nephew Algernon is holding in what seems to me a peculiarly unnecessary manner?
That lady is Miss Cecily Cardew, my ward.
I am engaged to be married to Cecily, Aunt Augusta.
I beg your pardon?
Mr. Moncrief and I are engaged to be married, Lady Bracknell.
I do not know whether there is anything peculiarly exciting in the air of this particular pot of Hertfordshire. But the number of engagements that go on seems to me considerably above the proper average that statistics have laid down for our guidance. I think some preliminary inquiry on my part would not be out of place. Mr. Worthing, is Miss Cardew at all connected with any of the larger railway stations in London? I'm merely desire information. Until yesterday, I had no idea that there were any families or persons whose origin was a terminus.
Miss Cardew is the granddaughter of the late Mr. Thomas Cardew of 149 Belgrave Square, SW. Talking, Surrey, and the Spornan, Fifeshire, in B.
That sounds not unsatisfactory. 3 addresses always inspire confidence. So far, I'm satisfied.
How extremely kind of you, Lady Bracknell. Oh, I have also in my possession, you'll be pleased to hear, certificates of Miss Cardew's birth, baptism, whooping cough, registration, vaccination, confirmation, and the measles. Both the German and the English variety.
Oh, a life crowded with incident. I see. Though, perhaps somewhat too exciting for a young girl, I myself am not in favor of premature experiences. Come, Gwendolen. The time approaches for our departure. We have not a moment to lose. As a matter of form, Mr. Worthing, I had better ask you if Miss Cardew has any little fortune of any kind.
Oh, about £130,000 in the funds. That is all. Goodbye, Lady Bracknell. So pleased to have seen you.
A moment, sir. £130,000 and in the funds. Miss Cardew seems to me a most attractive young lady now that I look at her. Few girls of the present day have any really solid qualities. Any of the qualities that last or improve with time. We live, I regret to say, in an age of surfaces. Come here, dear. Your dress. It's sadly simple. And your hair looks almost as nature might have left it. But we can soon alter all that. A thoroughly experienced French maid produces a really marvelous effect in a very brief space of time. I remember recommending one to the young lady Lansing, and after 3 months, her own husband did not know her.
And after 6 months, nobody knew her.
Kindly turn around for me, sweet child. No, this side view is what I want. Yes, quite as I expected. There are distinct social possibilities on your profile. The chin, a little higher, dear. Yes, style largely depends on the way the chin is worn. They're worn very high just at present. Algernon?
Yes, Aunt Augusta.
There are distinct social possibilities in Miss Cardew's profile.
But Aunt Augusta, Cecily is the sweetest, dearest, prettiest girl in the whole world. And I don't care tuppence about social possibilities.
Oh, never speak disrespectfully of society, Algernon. Only people who can't get into it do that. Of course, dear, you will understand that Algernon has nothing but his debt to depend upon you. However, I myself am not in favor of mercenary marriages. When I married Lord Bracknell, I had no fortune of any kind, but I never dreamed for a moment of allowing that to stand in my way. Well, I suppose I must give my consent.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell.
Cecily, you may kiss me. You may also address me as Aunt Augusta for the future.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
The marriage, I think, had better take place quite soon.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
I'm not in favor of long engagements. They give people the opportunity of finding out each other's character before marriage, which I think is never advisable.
I beg your pardon, Lady Bracknell, but this engagement is quite out of the question. I am Miss Cardew's guardian, and she may not marry without my consent till she comes of age. That consent I absolutely decline to give.
Upon what grounds, may I ask? Algernon is an extremely, I may almost say ostentatiously eligible young man. He has nothing, but he looks everything. What more can one desire?
It pains me, Lady Bracknell, to have to speak frankly to you about your nephew, but the fact is that I do not approve at all of his moral character. I suspect him of being untruthful.
Untruthful? My nephew Algernon? Impossible!
I fear there can be no possible doubt about the matter. This afternoon, during my temporary absence in London, on an important question of romance, he obtained admission to my house by the means of the false pretense of being my brother. Under an assumed name, he succeeded in the course of the afternoon in alienating the affections of my only ward. He subsequently stayed to tea and devoured every single muffin. And what makes his conduct all the more heartless is he was perfectly well aware from the first that I haven't got a brother, that I never had a brother, and that I don't intend to have a brother, not even of any kind. I distinctly told him so yesterday afternoon.
Mr. Worthing, after careful consideration, I have decided entirely to overlook my nephew's conduct to you.
That is very generous of you, Lady Bracknell. My own decision, however, is unalterable. I decline to give my consent.
Come here, sweet child. How old are you?
Well, I'm really only 18, but I always admit to 20 at evening parties.
You are perfectly right in making some slight alteration indeed. No woman should ever be quite accurate about her age. It looks so calculating. 18, but admitting to 20 at evening parties? Well, it will not be long now before you are of age and free from the restraints of tutelage. So I don't think your guardian's consent is after all a matter of any real importance.
And pray, excuse me, Lady Bracknell, for interrupting you again, but it is only fair that I tell you that according to the terms of her grandfather's will, Miss Cardew does not come of age till she is 35.
Well, that does not seem to me to be a grave objection. 35 is a very attractive age. London society is full of women who of the very highest birth who have remained of their own free will 35 for years. Lady Dumbledon is an instance in point. I believe she has been 35 ever since she arrived at the age of 40, which was many years ago now. So I see no reason why dear Cecily should not be even more attractive at the age you mentioned than she is at present. There will be a large accumulation of property.
Algy, could you wait for me till I was 35?
Of course I could, Cecily, you know I could.
Yes, I felt it instinctively, but I couldn't wait all that time. I hate waiting even 5 minutes for anybody. It always makes me rather cross. And waiting even to be married is quite out of the question.
Then what is to be done, Cecily?
I don't know, Mr. Moncrief.
Mr. Burley, as Miss Cardew states positively that she cannot wait till she is 35, a remark which I am bound to say shows a somewhat impatient nature, I must beg of you to reconsider.
But, my dear Lady Bracknell, the matter is entirely in your own hands. The moment you consent to my marriage to Gwendolen, I will most gladly allow your nephew to form an alliance with my ward.
You know perfectly well that what you propose is out of the question.
Then a passionate celibacy is all that any of us can afford.
That is not the destiny I propose for Gwendolen. Algernon, of course, can choose for himself. Come! We have already missed 5, if not 6 trains. To miss any more might expose us to comment on the platform.
Everything is quite ready for the christenings.
The christening, sir? Is that not somewhat premature?
Both of these men have expressed the desire for immediate baptism.
At their age? The idea is grotesque and irreligious. Algernon, I forbid you to be baptized. Lord Bracknell would be highly displeased if he found that was the way in which you wasted your time and money.
Am I to understand there to be no christenings at all this afternoon?
I don't think that, as things are now, it would be of much practical value to either of us, Dr. Chasuble.
I'm grieved to hear such sentiments from you, Mr. Worthing. However, as your particular mood seems to be one of secular, I shall be returning to the church at once. Indeed, I've just been informed by the pew opener that for the last hour and a half, Miss Prism has been waiting for me in the vestry.
Miss Prism? Did I hear you mention the name of a Miss Prism?
Yes, I'm on my way to join her.
Pray, allow me to detain you for a moment. This may prove of vital importance to Lord Bracknell and myself. Is this Miss Prism a female of a repellent aspect, remotely connected with education?
She is the most cultivated of ladies and the very picture of respectability.
Oh, it is obviously the same person. May I ask what position she holds in your house?
I am a celibate, madam!
Miss Prism, Lady Bracknell, has been for the last 3 years Miss Cardew's esteemed governess and valued companion.
Despite what I hear of her, I must see her at once. Let her be sent for!
She approaches! She is nigh.
I was told you expected me in the vestry, dear Canon. I've been waiting for you there for an hour and 3/4.
Prism! Come here! Prism? Prism? Where is that baby? 28 yards ago, Prism, you left Lord Bracknell's house, number 104 Upper Grosvenor Street, in charge of a perambulator that contained a baby of the male sex. You never returned! A few weeks later, through the elaborate investigation of the Metropolitan Police, the perambulator was discovered standing by itself at midnight in a remote corner of Bayswater. It contained the manuscripts of a more than usually revolting 3-volume novel. But the baby was not there. Prism? Where is that baby?
Lady Bracknell, I admit with shame that I do not know. I only wish that I did. The plain facts of the case are these. On the morning of the day in question, a day that is forever branded on my memory, I had prepared as usual to place the baby out in its perambulator. I had with me a somewhat old handbag in which I had intended to place the manuscript of a work of fiction that I had written during my few unoccupied hours. In a moment of mental distraction, for which I can never forgive myself, I deposited the manuscript in the bassinet and the baby in the handbag.
But where did you deposit the handbag?
Do not ask me, Mr. Worthing.
This is a matter of small importance to me. I must insist on knowing where you deposited the handbag that contained that infant.
I left it in the cloakroom in one of the larger railway stations in London.
What railway station?
Victoria! The Brighton line!
I must retire to my room for a moment when and wait here for me.
If you are not too long, dear, I'll wait for you all my life.
What do you think this all means, Lady Bracknell?
I need hardly say, dear Dr. Chasuble, that in families of high position, strange occurrences are not supposed to happen. They are hardly considered the thing.
Where is it? Where is it? Come on now! Where is it?
Uncle Jack seems strangely agitated.
Your guardian has a very emotional nature.
Oh, this noise is extremely unpleasant. It sounds as if he's having an argument. I dislike arguments of any kind. They're always vulgar and often convincing.
Just stop now.
Where is it? Where is it?
I wish he would arrive to some conclusion.
The suspense is terrible. I hope it will last.
Is this the handbag, Miss Prism? Examine it carefully before you speak. The happiness of more than one life depends on your answer.
It seems to be mine, yes. Here, on the lock of my initials, or on the handle of my initials. I'd forgotten that in an extravagant mood I had them placed there. The bag is undoubtedly mine. I'm so delighted to have it so unexpectedly restored to me. It's been a great inconvenience being without one these years.
Oh, it's restored to you than the handbag, Miss Prism. I was the baby you left in it.
You?
Yes, Mother!
Mr. Worthing, I am unmarried!
Unmarried? I do not deny that is a serious blow. But after all, what is the right to cast a stone against one who has suffered? Cannot repentance wipe out an act of folly? Why should there be one law for men and another for women? Mother, I forgive you.
Mr. Worthing, there is some error. There is the woman who can tell you who you really are.
Lady Bracknell, I hate to seem inquisitive. Would you kindly inform me who I am?
Well, I'm afraid the news I have for you will not altogether please you. You are the son of my poor sister, Mrs. Moncrieff, and consequently, Algernon's elder brother.
She's elder brother! I got a brother after all! I knew I had a brother. I always said I had a brother. Cecily, how could you ever have doubted me when I said I had a brother? Dr. Tossable, my unfortunate brother. Miss Prism, my unfortunate brother. Gwendolyn, my unfortunate brother. Algy, you young scoundrel. You have to treat me with more respect in the future. You never behaved to me like a brother in all your life.
Well, not till today, old boy, I admit. However, though I was out of practice.
My own one! But what own are you? What is your Christian name now that you are someone else?
Good heavens, I'd quite forgotten that matter. Your decision on the subject of my name is irrevocable, I suppose.
I never change, except in my affections.
But
What a
then,
wonderful forgiving nature you have, Gwendolyn.
but then the matter had better be cleared up at once. Lady... Oh, Aunt Augusta! A moment. At the time when I was left in the handbag by Miss Prism, had I been christened already?
Every luxury that money could buy, including christening, had been lavished upon you by your fond and doting parents.
Then I was christened. There settles that. Now, what name was I given? Let me know the worst.
Well, being the eldest, you were naturally christened after your father.
Yes, but what was my father's Christian name?
I cannot at the present moment recall what the general's Christian name was. I have no doubt he had one, though. He was eccentric, but only in later years, and that was due to indigestion and the Indian climate and marriage and things of that nature.
Algy! Can't you recollect what our father's Christian name was?
My dear boy, we were never even on speaking terms. He died before I was a year old.
His name would appear anomalous at the period, I suppose, Aunt Augusta?
He was generally a man of peace, except for in his family life. But I have no doubt that his name would appear in any military directory.
The army list of the last 40 years are here! These delightful records should have been my constant study. In generals, Malin, Maxwell, Magley, what ghastly names they have! Markby, Migby, Mobbs, Moncrief, Lieutenant 1840, Captain, Lieutenant Colonel, Colonel, Captain, General, Christian names, Ernest John. I always told you, Gwendolyn, my name was Earnest, didn't I? Well, it is Ernest after all. I mean, naturally it is Earnest.
Yes, I remember I had some reason for disliking the name.
Ernest, my own Ernest! I knew from the start that you could have no other name.
Dear Gwendolyn, it is a terrible thing for a man to find out suddenly. That all his life he's been speaking nothing but the truth. Can you forgive me?
I can, for I'm sure that you are bound to change.
My own one!
Leticia!
Frederick at last!
Cecily at last!
Gwendolyn at last!
My nephew, you seem to be displaying signs of triviality.
On the contrary, Aunt Augusta, I've now realized for the first time in my life the vital importance of being earnest.